I put my hand up and touched my new Carano fringe.
This is I Don't Even Own a Television, the Paris apartment.
There are books that are good, there are books that are bad. There's some books so fucking awful you wish you never had read them at all, 'cause a novel can ruin your life. Hey buddy, I don't even own a television.
Bonjour. Welcome to I Don't Even Own a Television. It's a podcast about bad French. I am your host, J.W. Dark Secret Past Friedman.
Oh, no.
and joining me, as always, with a wonderful, stylish new haircut.
Yeah. And I'm Chris, Carano Fringe Collision.
Nice. And, so we are gathered here today to discuss a little novel that we both read, unfortunately.
Somehow.
By Ruth Foley, entitled The Paris Apartment. This apartment, folks, it's in Paris.
Wait, what?
Hold on. There's all sorts of crazy stuff that we're about to put down for you.
Yeah.
Because it's in France.
Right. So you definitely need to wrap your head around that. Like, this is not just a Carano fringe we're talking about. This is a Carano fringe a la Parisienne. And that's just a little bad French to annoy at least some of our listeners.
But what do they call a Big Mac in France?
I believe they call it a Le Big Mac. Okay, just cards on the table. I am not going to do my awful French accent for the bulk of this episode. Merry Christmas to those who celebrate. Happy birthday. Whatever gift-giving occasion is a part of your life, this is my gift to you.
I won't either because mine just sounds like Justin Wilson from The Frugal Gourmet. So I guarantee I will not be doing that. So just real quick question for the listeners at home. Do you like thrillers? The kind you can buy in the airport?
Ooh.
Do you like them but also wish they went absolutely nowhere?
Oh, God.
If so, we've got the book for you, and it's The Paris Apartment. So we came across this book because I started reading it thinking I would enjoy it. And after I got about halfway through, I was like, we need to do this. And then I told you it was by Ruth Ware.
Yeah.
Which, I realize now is a mistake because I found her books to be mostly enjoyable, whereas this one...
I got so confused.
Yeah. Turns out, and I do want to say this just off the top so people don't think that I'm a hater or an internet troll. I actually enjoy Ruth Foley's other books that I've read quite a bit. I've read The Hunting Party and I read The Guest List, and I thought they were both quite serviceable, fun beach read kind of books.
Yeah.
So I'm not just here to hate on her entire output. This was a slog.
Yeah, I think that's kindly and accurately described in roughly equal measure. I was going to come in all hot with, some kind of like Statler and Waldorf style, like, says locked room mystery on the cover. They should have locked the room and not let the book come out.
Oh, God. That's vicious.
This is not like the worst book ever written. It's probably not the worst book we've covered. It's probably not the worst book we've covered in the last 2 episodes. Like, I don't mind saying that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some fun to be had with it, and that's what I aim to do.
Yeah, and I mean, as listeners to the show know, I think anything that advertises itself as a locked room mystery and then comes at me with this is going to raise my hackles a little bit because, in addition to not following the highly codified rules of a locked room mystery...
I'm out.
Wait, I'm just going to read that S.S. Van Dyne essay about how the killer can't be the butler because it's only fair if a human being commits the crime.
But what?
Oh, yeah. If you've never read that, you don't want to. It's like, here's the rules to writing a completely racist and imperial murder mystery.
Oh, no. See, this is why, and this may come as a surprise to some, I don't read.
I'm just going to go back and keep watching Paper Girls.
Yeah, sounds great. Don't know what that is. Is it like Star Trek? I don't know. I'm busy watching Star Trek.
It's kind of like Stranger Things in that it's sci-fi starring children aimed at adults.
Ooh.
But it's based on a Brian Vaughan graphic novel, I believe.
Okay.
And I am currently enjoying it a great deal. And I'm already looking for things to talk about that aren't the Paris apartment.
Yeah,
so.
no, I got some friends who are into the Paper Girls. I look forward to watching it in roughly 2027 when I'm taking fun breaks from, as I often say, chain fighting over the last cans of dog food in the Western Territories.
Hang on a second.
Oh, yeah.
Diet Mountain Dew time. Sorry, Mountain Dew Zero Sugar. New Responsible J only pops the tops on air of non-alcoholic beverages.
But do we stop popping tops?
No.
We do not.
Hang on. Ooh, that's not corn syrup. I was going to say it was corn syrup, but that's a reasonable facsimile of corn syrup. Refreshes.
You know, Jay, you look refreshed, rejuvenated, energized. What percentage of that would you say is due explicitly to Mountain Dew Zero Sugar?
Probably zero, but if I look more extreme, it's definitely because I've been doing the do.
God damn it, man. I'm just trying to get us like a little endorsement here.
Oh, yeah, no. I'm definitely down for any fancy non-alcoholic beverages. I had a really good soda the other day. Really good cola, I should say.
Uh-huh.
It was not sweet. It was just like a pure cola nut taste. Some kind of Italian soda. It was good.
It was called Royal Crown.
Yeah.
You probably haven't heard of it. It's very... it's so fancy. It, in fact, rules the land.
I found it in my fine purveyor of craft beverages. It's called Dr-rific. All right, anyway.
So, the Paris apartment, huh? You think they got any Mountain Dew Zero Sugar in the fridges in that?
No, this is a hoity-toity environs. And why don't we go ahead and give the people a little taste of what's to be found behind its ornate filigreed door.
Ooh.
With a segment that we call Plotting... Are we doing 60?
I think let's do it.
All right. Plotted 60 seconds. Vroom.
You got 60 seconds. Stream in the shower. 60 seconds. Don't leave nothing out. You got 60 seconds. Just open your mouth and tell them what the goddamn book's about.
Let me know when I can, reach my hand out, pull the iron, brass, I don't know, fucking lion head back.
Ooh, it's a lion with a ring in its mouth. This is the segment where we try to explain the book to you, the listener, so you don't have to read it, and also you vaguely know what we're talking about as we ramble incoherently trying to assemble the plot of a story that kind of doesn't really go anywhere. So,
and as always, I'm probably about to do a really good job.
Exactly. As everyone knows, we always come in on time. I never interrupt, things like that. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Go.
Jess is a tough-talking English gal, insert flawless accent here, who is in Gay Paris to hole up with her brother Ben for, insert ominous music here, mysterious reasons. But Ben isn't ... in his ... Paris apartment. Now, Rich chuckle, the apartment itself is kind of a character here. But not so much a character as the wild group of actual human characters Jess meets and that we meet, because every chapter is basically a monologue from one or another character's point of view. So instead of one plot, Jess tries to find her brother Ben, we get roughly 100 plots, including what is rich lady Sophie who lives in the penthouse's deal anyway? The concierge, who lives in a closet. What's her deal? Mimi, the extremely, one might say excessively French girl. What's her deal? Nick, a nice guy. Does he have a deal? Anyway, spoiler, everybody in the house is one big record scratch on happy family, and the whole structure of their lives is built on lies. Ben's not dead, but the patriarch is, and Mimi did it. The end. P.S. She did it because she's crazy.
That's great.
Was it about 75 seconds? I don't know.
Yeah, a little longer, but I
Okay.
think the important thing here is we establish there are deals. There's more deals than a blue light special. And as you mentioned, not only are we figuring out what everybody's deal is, everybody in this book monologues, as you said, and all they think about is Ben, the missing guy.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, a series of treatises on Ben. Everyone's internal life revolves entirely around Ben. There's strong Poochie energy around the whole Ben thing.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I hate to play the Simpsons card, but like literally when Ben isn't on the page, all the other characters are thinking, where's Ben? Yeah. What would Ben be up to? Wouldn't this be a better situation if Ben were here?
Yeah, exactly. So, Ben obsession aside, Ben session, I wanted to talk about a few structural issues I have with this book to start with. Because I think, it should be mentioned, as I said, I enjoyed Lucy Foley's other books. I like Ruth Ware books. I am not opposed to a quick-reading airport thriller, beach book. Some of them are really good.
You know who's opposed to those? Nobody. That's who.
Yeah, big snobs who suck.
Yeah.
And here's my deal with this book. I think that this is a genre that ultimately, only really functions well when there's kind of an equal distribution of, keeping secrets close to the chest and also, dripping out clues and narrative things that kind of tell you, hey, there's a reason for me to keep reading this. Mm-hmm. And this one is so skewed towards the former that, effectively it functions as a story of a woman wandering around Paris wondering what's going on for about 3/4 of the book, while everyone else around her is like, ooh, I have secrets. But you never get any clue to what they are. And then, in the last quarter of the book, they all just come tumbling out, and there's a series of things that are supposed to be, twists and turns. But, at this point, the book has spent so long being you're never going to guess what happened. Hey, dude, you think you're going to guess what happened? That, you could have had the best ending in the world for this, which, spoiler alert, it doesn't. And it would still be underwhelming.
I think that's exactly right. And I think, one of the things that you're saying is, that the book spends 3/4 of its time telling you, oh my God, these characters have so many secrets. And then what happens at the end of the book is the characters look directly into the camera and explain their secrets at you. There's not... So a different way to say what you're saying is, this book should have had a story instead of a set of lectures people are giving.
I think that's really on point. Sorry for the interruption. I had to lift a 19-pound cat off my desk because he was sitting on the space bar, which is tough when you're recording.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. It's literally by the way, you know what I was hiding? And every character in this book is hiding something.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. And it's just, it all comes out, like you said, in the clumsiest way possible. And everything that they're hiding is nowhere near as interesting or captivating as, I feel like I'm expected to think.
Yeah, there's two big problems. One is there's big sort of bad video game energy where you like you say, you're following poor Jess around, bumbling, looking at stuff, talking to people, getting locked in wine cellars, etc. And then the plot gets explained to her, which is a little bit like playing, I don't know, a bad Tomb Raider game or something. Mm-hmm. But the other, I think, kind of big problem is all of the supposed shocking, lurid secrets are pretty weak tea.
I agree 100%. This is a book, by the way, that thinks that the reader is going to be confused and mystified by the phrase "le petit mort."
Oh, God.
And then when it's revealed that it actually means the little death, which, gasp, has to do with sex, you're supposed to be both scandalized and titillated. And I think that happens relatively early in the slate of reveals, the avalanche of reveals, if you will. And it definitely was my first large eye roll and sigh of the reading experience.
I mean, particularly because I believe the first introduction of this is Jess going through her brother's stuff because she is in Ben's Paris apartment.
Where's Ben?
Yeah. And she's like flipping through his notebook, which I assume is a moleskin. And she sees that he has written Le Petit Mort in his notebook. And if I saw that in my brother's notebook, I would say, ew, you don't have to write it down every time.
Yeah, every time you do it.
Yeah.
What? I would be like, yeah, somebody's horny. But in this, it's like, she thought she had stumbled across a clue.
Yeah. So she went to Google. Actually, maybe that's a low-key high point. We're not quite there yet, but like one of Jess's major struggles is that she's a little bit broke and her phone is constantly like, I don't want to do that because I'm out of data. And I was like, you know what? I have been there, man. Like,
absolutely, yeah. Jess invest in an unlimited international plan.
Well, it's tough when you don't have a ready supply of cash. And also, like, I like it because it is just the world's simplest riposte to the most boring thing imaginable, which is people telling you, like, you just can't tell a story anymore with cell phones. Like, yeah, you can. You just don't tell a story about a fucking rich person. Done and done. Next.
Yeah. It's sort of like how every horror movie that's good in the past, like, 20 years has to take place in the 1980s or before. Yeah.
Has to try to solve that problem.
Yeah. Because people just won't fucking shut up about it otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. The cell phone plan, well, we'll get there.
Yeah.
I do want to also say, to get back to kind of my structural issues with this, I don't know who exactly is to blame for this, but I think it plagues this genre especially, but kind of narrative fiction in general over the past, 30 years. But there's just such a devotion to the twist ending that, like, almost everything that happens in this book is, like, cheap foreshadowing, and you can feel it as cheap foreshadowing. You're like, this isn't a plot point that has anything to do with the story now. Uh-huh. This is a setup for the shocking reveal, which, like, I don't know. When it works, but I'm kind of sick of, like, stories that just trade in this as the be-all and end-all of narrative.
Yep.
And this just really highlighted a lot of those issues to me. I guess this is kind of a low point, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't disagree at all. And I think the just to restate maybe what I already said, unfortunately, like, don't pretend a shock ending is shocking when A, it's not very surprising, B, it's very contrived, and C, almost nothing has happened for the previous 11 and a half hours. Like, I did not read this book. I listened to it. My so some of my attention payer may have been a little bit more on the dishes I was doing or the delicious tofu cutlet I was crafting. Nevertheless.
So, just quick question then about the audiobook experience. One reader or multiple readers?
Oh my God, so many readers. And actually, this is a perfect segue. So, let's just do high points and low points.
Okay, here's a song.
High points are high, and low points are low. High points, low points, get ready to go.
So, yeah, as you mentioned earlier, you found this, texted me, and were like, hey, give this a shot. It's bonkers. It's terrible. You'll hate it.
We have the most wholesome conversations.
Yeah. and within about an hour, I was texting back, IDK, I'm loving this. And most of that was because, as a huge high point, the early voice acting in this is outstanding in a very, like, B-movie chewing the scenery way.
Oh.
Like, Jess is just kind of a normal, kind of hard-bitten, voice. Mimi, in particular, is the Frenchest French girl who ever Frenched. Like, Pepe Le Pew is, like, rocketing out of his grave, flying toward Mimi. He's so into the way she is speaking, and it is glorious.
That sounds pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
I was really curious about that, because if it was one reader, it would probably be very confusing. So
Right.
at least they got that right for the audiobook.
Yeah, so that, I mean, like, absolute high point. It doesn't hold up because after a while, it stops being charming to hear people talk because they're not talking about anything, and I don't care. But yeah, the voice actors really put some hinder into this, and it really works.
Cool. So, we like to hang them high, swing them low. I've been looking forward to saying that all week, and I didn't get to introduce the segment, so I'm just going to do that now before my first high point. And it's going to be, I'm going to be a man of the people right now. I'm going to indulge my populist urges here. And I'm just going to say what I really liked about this book is every time somebody says something in French, they immediately repeat it in English.
Oh, yeah.
And that happens a lot because this book takes place in Paris.
Right.
And almost everybody speaks French. But, as a non-native French speaker, I really appreciated that I didn't have to rely on things like context cues to understand what was being said. And it's all spelled out for me immediately. So big thanks to Lucy Foley for making it simple for ignoramuses such as me. Huge high point.
It's also like a character note usually because... I think maybe 8 times out of 10, it's, this reminded me of the French phrase, blah, 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 blah. But I also know an English phrase that means the same thing, which is, all cats are gray after midnight. And it's like, yeah, it's incredible. That is... I'm glad you called that because that is a really fun aspect of this book.
Who trusts the reader? Never heard of it.
No, we do not want to interrupt the reader's steady flow from page to page for any reason.
No, and you may notice once again my high points may be a little less than sincere this time around, but I'm rolling with it. It's cool. How about a low point?
Oh boy, you know what? I feel bad because I know that I have whinged about this about a number of books now, but this one really feels like it's breaking new ground in the technique of showing the same scene from multiple points of view to no purpose or gain whatsoever.
The old Rashomon, but pointless.
Yeah, Rashomon, except everybody's seeing the same thing. And
oh yeah,
if person 1 is like, I spoke to person 2, they were guarded as though they had a secret. But of course, I too had a secret. And then person 2 is like, I got the feeling person 1 had a secret, but I was too busy keeping my own secret. I'm sorry, that's not actually helpful for me as a reader, or even very interesting for me as a reader.
When did Peaky Blinders sneak into this story?
I think that's Theo. He's not a character I'm going to bother talking about.
Oh yeah, he was some newspaper guy with a British accent.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know, I'm wrong. Peaky Blinders, I just remembered they're Irish. Never mind. I think there were British guys in that show too, because I definitely remember that accent you just did. So,
well, that's because Jay, we haven't really talked about this. I've been on all 5 seasons of hit Netflix show Peaky Blinders. I just don't like to brag. You may know I'm the guy with a funny mustache and a hat.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm the one wearing the pork pie. You might recognize me.
Yeah,
whenever they shoot me, the lighting's real dark and dramatic.
Yeah, I was in that scene where we did that crime.
Yeah. There was some swearing. Yeah, that's me.
At what point will it be clear I have absolutely never seen even a minute of Peaky Blinders?
I mean,
like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
All right. I guess I need a low point then too. I mean, I think, once again, I've mentioned this kind of thing before, too, and you kind of alluded to it earlier, where this book really thinks it has some sordid and shocking things to get at with you, but it ultimately ends up revealing in a lot of ways just kind of like how provincial and small the author's concept of what sordid things are, because at one point they go to a club, and this is the big reveal for Le Petit Mort. This is the big reveal for Le Petit French word. I'm not going to get corrected 1,000 times again for mispronouncing. This is... Anyway, they go to Dude Sex Mockingjay. Yeah. And this is the big reveal, like, oh my God, this is way seedier than we thought. And it's like a club where there's strippers.
Yeah.
Like later on, it turns out there is some shadier stuff going on, but
At a strip club?
yeah, no way. But the narrator's so scandalized by the, even when she walks in, she's with Theo, they're talking. I kept thinking there was going to be like, someone was going to get murdered on stage or something, the way they were like, the atmosphere was so dark and dank. And then they were like, and then the women took their clothes off. And it just, I don't know. It was really hard to take seriously for me.
And the descriptions of what the ladies are getting up to on the stage there is a little too Cirque du Soleil.
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
To feel like really down and dirty and grimy, which is fine. Like, there should exist a world where, the idea that somebody might pay 5 francs and put their phone in a box to, look at a nice lady naked. It's okay for there to be a fictional world where this is like the darkest thing that's ever happened.
Oh yeah, for sure. That was very Jerry Lewis. By
and
the way.
There's a policeman there.
The nice lady.
Yeah, the nice lady.
Definitely. It's totally okay, but I really got the impression from the way it was written that I was supposed to be shocked and scandalized by the fact that there's a dimly lit club where, women do basically burlesque.
Yeah.
It was a lot to swallow.
Yeah, it's less dark than I think for a little deep cut for the true IDEO TV heads. It's less dark than some of the episodes of Riverdale we've watched.
Ooh, wow, that's such a great analogy because this had CW all over it.
Yeah, and I'm not a proud man. If the Paris Apartment turns up on the CW, I'll probably watch that.
I will too, especially if there's like cool Jughead hats.
Yeah, I mean, you got to understand, I've got a lot of time and money after my wildly successful 5 seasons of Peaky Blinders.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I'm rolling in that streaming services not paying actors residuals money.
Actually, I'm. As most of you don't know, I've been doing a lot kind of in our off time, and one of those is starring as a wildly successful Spanish actor. I don't know, a friend of mine sent me a bunch of pictures and was like, it's you with a gun, and it's some guy named Manolo Solo, which I believe is his stage name. He has a real name, but yeah, if you wonder what I look like, just Google that guy, because it's fucking creepy. Anyway. So we're both famous in Netflix exclusive properties is what I'm saying. And rich.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I love being rich.
Even more money than those tall podcast dollars we were rolling in before.
Yeah.
Shit. Another low point I feel like I owe you. I think I've covered, most of the problems, the plot that doesn't happen, the characters that on the page all sound exactly the same, even though the people voicing them in the audiobook are wildly different and caffeinated and enthusiastic. I think, though, I do need to just single out the incredible pointlessness of the big climax where, from memory, because I was not taking notes, it turns out Ben was attacked but not killed. Who was killed was the patriarch of the family.
Let's rewind a second.
Okay.
Because there's another important thing that you have to know about this. We said they're all a big family.
Right.
And I mean, that goes even deeper than you think, because it turns out the daughter, Mimi, was stolen as a baby because her mother didn't think she could have children. So her rich husband acquired her a stolen baby, which it later turns out is the housekeeper's biological daughter or granddaughter? Biological granddaughter, unaware to everyone else, but that's why the housekeeper is there to keep an eye on her granddaughter.
Right.
And all of this is found out by Ben, who's an intrepid reporter. We forgot to mention this.
Yeah, he's an intrepid reporter whose day job is a restaurant reviewer, which I ancillary high point, because that is fucking hilarious to me.
I was just reading Murakami Dance, Dance, Dance. And the protagonist of that is a restaurant reviewer who refers to his work as shoveling snow. Because he's like, no one wants to do it, but, someone has to, and it pays good money.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's this guy.
Yeah. Okay, so let me try to lay out the story a tiny bit less confusingly, maybe.
Okay.
Back in time, woman who will become concierge is living in Eastern Europe somewhere, I forget where. She has a daughter, famed for her beauty, lauded for her dancerly abilities. Daughter, as one does, goes to Paris to make her fortune, but bad things happen, and she ends up working in a sex club. One thing leads to another. She becomes pregnant. Mother finds out about this, resolves, I shall go to Paris to rescue my beloved, beautiful daughter, famed for her beauty and dancing. However, it takes time to do so. Daughter gives birth, I believe dies while giving birth.
Yes. Literally
backstage at the sex club. At which point, one of the other dancers is like, oh, look, hey, baby. Grabs Jan baby, raises her as her own. The baby turns into Mimi, the Frenchest French girl who ever Frenched. And the mom, and this is yet another giant bombshell, or the stepmom who adopts her, turns out to be Sophie, the matriarch of the Paris apartment and the second wife of, I keep getting his name wrong, but I believe it's Jacques, the rich guy who owns the whole thing. And these are all supposed to be mammoth bombshells. And where the book thought it, or it was trying to convince you it was going, is Mimi starts out, she spends the first half of the book as like a total prude who's like, she hates everybody who's ever had sex. And then it turns out she's actually a little unhinged.
Well, there's a transformative moment where she takes ecstasy.
Well, right. There's that, but it's also she got kicked out of art school because she got a sexual fixation on her art teacher and started, like, I don't know, drawing naked pictures of him and turning them in as assignments or something.
Did she cut the eyes out of the photos and stab them a bunch of times? Well, of course she did.
She does that to maybe 3 sets of photos in the course of the book, which, you know, like, again, simple man, doing dishes, folding laundry, listening to an airport thriller. Like, I appreciate the simple tropes being deployed. Like, cutting the eyes out. I know what that means. Can't put anything by this reader.
Yeah. By the way, you did just remind me that this book probably should deserve a prize for the most awkward hand job I've ever read. So, yeah, that happens. Anyway.
We need to do a bonus about that. Like, just awkward handos in literature. Collision and J style.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, and so eventually all of this Ben discovers using his intrepid restaurant review skills.
Which mostly, yeah, exactly. Which mostly seem to consist of seducing Sophie and, like, washing her hair, which makes her, like, spill all her secrets to him. And so, like, all of it leads up to, we think Mimi killed Ben. It turns out, I can't even remember what happened. I think she hurt Ben but killed her dad. Who even gives a shit?
Ben confronts Jacques. I think it's right after Mimi hurts him, and he's like, fuck this family, and he goes up and confronts Jacques, and then Sophie, quote-unquote, kills Ben, but it turns out she actually killed her husband. Or no, it was Mimi. You were right. Mimi kills her dad. Sophie helps her bury the body in the garden.
Right.
And then they lock Ben, who's gravely injured but still alive, thanks to Mimi's, killing spree or whatever. They lock him in the attic and apparently keep him there for like a month and a half.
It's I think 72 hours or so.
Oh yeah, it's really, time passes strangely in this novel.
It's not entirely clear. I get 72 hours because whenever we flash back to Ben doing stuff, the narrator in my book said 72 hours earlier.
Oh yeah, and also this is one of those books that has clever chapter titles like Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, love it.
Stay tuned for what is your fave.
So I think I guess if I tried to wrap all this up after talking for 98 minutes about the plot of this, I think I would say the thing that was the biggest low point for me was there's kind of an interesting collision of ideas here. Like, there's some, like, gothic elements to the, it's a spooky house with passages and nooks and crannies, and you can do the Scooby-Doo thing where you're looking out from a painting and your eyes move. And there's, like, a little bit of actually giallo kinds of stuff.
Yeah, there's an Argento vibe here for sure.
Yeah, but so little is done with all of that that it just gets like... I would actually rather probably read the 800th Jack Reacher book, because like those don't have any ideas, but they just sort of do what they do. They don't trick you into thinking you might be in for a better ride than you're in for.
Okay, so I need to do my second low point because you just like basically rubbed right up against it in a sexy way, because that's the kind of book we're reading.
Did I just do frottage to your idea?
You frotaged my low point. Whoa.
IDEO TV After Dark.
I didn't realize that was coming out until I said it. But no, I agree with you. And I mean, I almost word for word, I think one of the least enjoyable parts about this book is the way it constantly teases ideas and stories that would be better than what you actually get. And it's, once again, it's all in service of being able to have a twist that no one would expect. But like, as a result, a lot of really good stories and ideas that are hinted at just get left in the dust as the book plods along at a brisk pace, because once again, like you mentioned, can't let people stop reading. It's gotta be, what's it that they say on Amazon all the time now? Unputdownable. My least favorite new phrase. It used to be unfuckwittable, but it turns out Debrat is awesome. So yeah, now it's unputdownable.
Right. Is it propulsive? Is it muscular? Is the prose muscular?
I'll tell you this. When I started reading it, I couldn't put it down all night. I was late to work the next day. 5 stars on Goodreads.
Yes.
Yeah, so I do agree, and to kind of second what you said and just to put my own little twist on it, yeah, I felt like I was constantly like seeing the promise of a better book, just to have it like rubbed in my face in the next chapter. So, like, oh, you thought we were gonna do that? Psych.
Yeah, it's the classic thing. If you're in a bad movie, don't show me like a character walking into Casablanca. You know? All you're going to do is make me think of other movies I could be watching.
Yeah.
Well, you know, not that we've been wallowing in the mire for too long, but I think we got to do a high point and get out of this segment.
Yeah.
This might be cheating a little bit, but it actually left me with like a very positive and good feeling about this book. I am a sucker for a good acknowledgments section.
Ooh, I got to admit, I bailed before the acknowledgments.
And the acknowledgments section in this book is very good. It's very detailed, and it's very, very long. And it just like gives you a good feeling about the author. You're like, you know what? Maybe this was not the best book I've read this year. But like, she showed up, she put her time in, you know what I mean? Like, she wasn't faking the funk. Like, she probably could have used another cycle of revision or editing or whatever. But, like, also, it was fine. So, like, I'm not mad at it. Mm-hmm. And just to hear her, like, be really nice about, like, her spouse, her kid, her parents, her, you know, whole team, like it just like I said, it left me with a very positive impression, and to have that right at the end was well placed for this listener.
It's like back in the day when you'd get a record and read the liner notes and they'd thank all their other bands that they were their friends. That was always good.
Oh, yeah.
But then occasionally you'd get like a record by some shitheads that would put a fuck you list in instead of a thank you list, and it was like, oh, these bitter assholes.
Yeah, that's that. You know, like I know I've told this on the show before, but like I think a lot about the quote that Joel Hodgson from Mystery Science gave when they were kind of relaunching a few years ago, where it's like, if you're asking people to like bring you into their living rooms, you need to be likable. Mm-hmm. And you know that's not true for everything. You know, that there is such a thing as like an unpleasant person who writes a great book. There's such a thing as like super dark, super challenging books. I love all those things. I have like a lot of time and room for those things. But it is also true that for, some kinds of entertainment, I do just want to feel like I'm in the presence of some likable people. And the acknowledgements definitely did that for me.
Yeah. Okay, so here is my high point. I mean, I'm also cheating, but in a different way. I think my last high point about this is that I was thinking really hard about it while I was reading this. I even at one point tried to draw a diagram, which I no longer have, and I'm disappointed. But I am not entirely sure that this house could exist in normal Euclidean three-dimensional space.
Oh, that is an interesting question, yeah.
Because as far as I can tell from this, the building is like maybe the size of the Flatiron building, but way shorter. It's just like a series of one rooms stacked on top of each other, but there are labyrinthine secret passages and a huge basement and just all sorts of stuff like that. And it gave me real like Navidson record House of Leaves vibes. And I'm a sucker for that. It's my favorite thing in horror movies. So even if that wasn't intended, I was like, ooh, this house is creepy. So, big ups to that. I'm also just going to throw on a second tertiary high point. I guess tertiary means third. So I'm going to add a secondary high point, which is that this book has a hilarious keg party scene. Not supposed to be funny, but it's a Halloween keg party scene that has just some great "How do you do, fellow kids" vibes. You will be hearing more about that, dear listener, in somebody's dramatic reading.
Oh, goodness. Well, it looks like I've set it up, so it's probably a good time to go to a break, and we're going to come back. You're going to hear all about the spookiest teens throwing a fling. Folks, we are riding back on our charming bicycles, our charming red bicycles with some baguettes over our shoulder and jaunty scarves.
You would not believe how horizontally striped my sweater is right now.
Are we wearing berets? Whoa. You can use your imagination, I was going to say. Collision isn't because he's got to show off his Karen O fringe.
Oh.
My hair's getting a little unruly, so I've got to cover it up with a beret. Preferably, I already said jaunty. Never mind. Okay, so we're back, and
this book may have broken us slightly.
I'm not as quick-witted as I was when I started. Now I'm kind of slow. We are going to do a segment. How could we describe this segment? I would say it's the most magnifique segment in podcasting history. This is dramatic reading.
Dramatic readings. We're gonna make it sound recorded. Dramatic readings. Yeah, I got some words for you.
All right, so dramatic readings, I believe I used to introduce it this way. I was reminded of that by the way when you mentioned it last time around. But this is a segment where we read parts of this book in the style of NPR selected shorts, which is to say really pumped up, a little dramatic, a little reading.
There's some plum in it. There's some juice, if you will.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to do. Would you like to go first, or should I? I'll go first. Sounds good.
Yeah.
So I spent a long time looking through this book and trying to figure out exactly what the best part could be to kind of give you, the listener, a good taste of what reading this book was like. And what I ended up settling on, and I swear it's not just because I didn't want to read this book for a second time to find a good one, it's the prologue, which I would say starts on page 1, but I believe these are Roman numeraled pages at the beginning. But this is from the point of view of Ben, who, as we discussed later on, will not be an active character in our drama, but will constantly be a point of great focus. And anyway, this is the way the editorial voice of this book works, so here we go.
Oh, no.
His fingers hover over the keyboard. Got to get it all down. This is the story that's going to make his name. Ben lights another cigarette. A jeton. Bit of a cliche to smoke them here, but he does actually like the taste. And fine, yeah, he likes the way he looks smoking them, too. He's sitting in front of the apartment's long windows, which look onto the central courtyard. Everything out there is steeped in darkness, save for the weak greenish glow thrown by a single lamp. It's a beautiful building, but there's something rotten at its heart. Now he's discovered it. He can smell the stench of it everywhere. He should be clearing out of here soon. He's outstayed his welcome in the first place. Jess could hardly have chosen a worse time to decide to come and stay. She barely gave him any notice, and she didn't give much detail on the phone, but clearly something's up. Something wrong with whatever crappy bar job she's working now. His half-sister has a knack for turning up when she's not wanted. She's like a homing beacon for trouble. It seems to follow her around. She's never been good at just playing the game. Never understood how much easier it makes life if you just give people what they want, tell them what they want to hear. Admittedly, he did tell her to come and stay whenever you like, but he didn't really mean it. Trust Jess to take him at his word. When was the last time he saw her? Thinking about her always makes him feel guilty. Should he have been there for her more? Looked out for her, ... question mark? She's fragile, Jess. Or, not fragile exactly, but vulnerable, in a way people probably don't see at first. An armadillo. Softness beneath that tough exterior.
I had completely forgotten that. That was incredible. Question. Mm-hmm. Ben? We think he's a bit of a dick?
Yeah, also he seems to think just exclusively in cliches from you know, out kind of not even good noir cliches, but the kind of thing that if someone in a creative writing workshop who hasn't, really honed their craft might vomit up. I like the way he's Dashiell Hammett, but the third grade version.
I mean, you are speaking to a man who really did write a story in his creative writing class about his dog dying that featured the protagonist of the dog dying tale waking up at the beginning. So you're not talking to a stranger when it comes to literary cliches here. But also, who describes their sister as an armadillo with a tough shell and a tender interior? I can think of a lot of things I would reach for in Paris as an example of tough shells, tender interiors.
Yeah, like an escargot, but no, armadillo for sure.
Texas's favorite roadkill would not be on that list, I don't think.
Okay, I'm sure I'm going to get emails on this if I'm wrong, or maybe even if I'm right, but that's fine. I don't think people in London, where they're from, have a tremendous amount of experience with armadillos.
That's also true. But if I remember right from either the first or the second Sherlock Holmes story, the English do have a natural inborn fascination with the American West.
Oh, yeah.
You may remember that either the first or the second mostly takes place in Utah for some reason.
Yeah, it is. It's Study in Scarlet. Yeah, and it's almost all just like a cowboy story.
Yeah, it's the most baffling. What the fuck? Anyway, that was incredible, and now I need a little help looking it up. Can you look up the phrase, Jay, on your e-reading device? Super space cool.
Oh, goodness.
And I think that will get us there.
So, just to let you in behind the curtain here if you're at home, we could not find Super Space Cool, but we did find Midsummer, like the movie title, and, which once again speaks to what Collision was saying earlier, mentioning more entertaining pieces of media in the book. Bad idea.
And now I'm ready to go. This is one of my favorite tropes of this. The chapter title here is Mimi, Fourth Floor. By the time I get down to the cave, there are already so many people crammed inside. I'm never good with crowds at the best of times, with people invading my space. Camille's friend, Henri, has brought his decks and a massive speaker and is playing La Femme at top volume. Camille's greeting newcomers at the entrance in her midsommar dress, the flower crown wobbling on her head as she jumps up and throws her arms around people. Ah, salute, Gus, Manu, coucou Dede. Don't, please. My French, it's very bad. No one pays me much attention, even though it's my place. They've come for Camille. They're all her friends. I pour 10 centimeters of vodka into a glass and start drinking. Salut, Mimi. I look down. Merde! It's Camille's friend, Loulou. She's sitting on some guy's lap, drink in one hand, cigarette in the other. She's dressed as a cat, a headband with black lace ears, silk, leopard print slip dress falling off one shoulder, long brown hair all tangled like she just got out of bed, and her lipstick smudged, but in a sexy way.
Stupid sexy Lulu.
The perfect Parisienne. Or like those Instagram cretins in their bobo espadrilles and cat eyeliner doing fuck me eyes at the lens. That's how people think French girls should look. Not like me, with my home-cut mullet and pimples round my mouth. I haven't seen you for so long. She waves her cigarette. She's also one of those girls who lights cigarettes outside cafes, but doesn't actually inhale, just holds them and lets the smoke drift everywhere while she gestures with her pretty little hands. Hot ash lands on my arm. I remember, she says, her eyes widening. It was at that bar in the park. August. Mon Dieu, I've never seen you like that. You were crazy. A cute little giggle for weirdo Mimi. At this moment, the music changes, and I can barely believe it, but it's that song. Heads Will Roll by the Yeah-Yeah-Yeahs. It feels like fate, and suddenly, I'm back there. It was too hot to be inside, so I suggested to Camille we go to this bar, Rosa Bonheur, in the Parc des Buttes-Chaumont. I hadn't told Camille, but I knew Ben might be there. He was writing a piece on the bar. I'd heard him talking to his editor through the apartment's open windows. Since he lent me that Yeah-Yeah-Yeahs record, I'd Googled the lead singer, Karen O. I'd tried dressing like her, and when I did, I felt like someone else. I'd spent the afternoon cutting my hair into her short, jagged style. And that evening, I put on my Karen O outfit, a thin, white tank top, painted my lips red, ringed my eyes in black eyeliner. At the last moment, I took off my bra.
Wow. Man, this book is hip and with it.
Look, man, when a book gives you a straight up, I finally made my outside match the way I feel on the inside, that's going to be my dramatic reading. That's the Chris Collision promise.
It's good. I mean, yeah, far be it from me, because I know I'm firmly in this camp now, but when somebody middle-aged is writing about teenagers and tries to employ cultural signifiers, it generally gets pretty awkward. I just feel like there had to be something a little more relevant to the youth of today than the Yeah-Yeah-Yeahs. I mean, I like the Yeah-Yeah-Yeahs, and I'm 43 years old.
I mean, I don't not get where you're coming from, but I also think, you know what's hard? Writing books. Writing books is hard.
Good point.
If you want to drop some stuff in there because it makes you happy, go ahead.
No, that's fine. And actually, to be fair, I'm just very prickly about people writing about music who aren't music writers.
For sure.
Because, I maybe care a little bit too much about that kind of stuff. And when there's weird little problems or something, it drives me crazy. I just read Paul Tremblay's newest book, and he's one of my favorite modern writers. He's a master of modern horror, I feel like. But, it's written about a guy who was in the music scene in Providence, Rhode Island. And it's generally pretty on point. And there's actually a bunch of Husker Du stuff in there that's really fucking cool. And I'm probably going to talk about this more during recommendations. But one of the big kind of plot points is that this guy establishes himself later on in life as a sought-after solo act performing in local bars, unaccompanied, playing electric guitar and singing. And I'm like, no, actually, that would sound not good. And he does Husker Du covers, but just by himself singing, which I was like, okay, some Husker Du songs would probably sound good on acoustic. And then it's he played loud and distorted and just sang along. And I'm like, that's weird. And it just took me out of the book.
Well, to be fair, most people who've heard, especially early, pre-Warner Brothers Husker Du are used to hearing them without any bass or drums, thanks to Spot's production.
God damn it. You're right, though. You're not lying. Let's go on to another segment. Let's do a What is Your Fave?
Ooh.
What is your fave? What is your fave? When you're presented with a list of options, what is your fave?
All right, now, as we've established, this is a book of characters. And these characters have secrets.
Ooh.
And so your mission, if you choose to accept it, and if you don't, it's going to make for a real short, unsatisfying segment, is to pick, when presented with a list of options, your favorite combination of character and dark secret. Is your favorite character and their dark secret combination Sophie, grande dame of the apartment and the family, who once, gasp, shock, was a sex worker? Is it Antoine, eldest brother? His secret is that he's a giant dickhead. Is it Ben, who, fair enough, has a couple of secrets, including hooking up with Sophie and being not dead?
Yeah.
Jacques, the patriarch of the whole clan, whose fortune is not built on a Vandalay-style importing-exporting wine situation, but is instead, gasp shock, built on owning Le Petit Mort, the aforementioned sex club? Is it Jess, who's on the run and has to come to France because she has locked her boss in the walk-in cooler, dragging a keg in front of the door, and stolen the cash from the register?
Okay, well, I've probably already given away my favorite. But
Is it the concierge, who is Mimi's biological grandmother, semi-secretly, because the brothers and sisters don't know, or the brothers don't know, the stepbrothers don't know, but obviously Sophie does. Is it Nick, a brother we haven't mentioned because he's just that important to the plot, but is Sophie and Jacques' son, who's
Ben's old friend.
Old friend,
Oh.
in quotes, who once kissed Ben, very fucked up in Amsterdam, and is still super twisted about it, including hiding the secret so well that his laptop screensaver is an image of them chummily on that Amsterdam road trip.
Yeah.
Really not sweeping that one under the rug there, Nick. Or is your favorite character, Jay, the apartment, which has some secret passages and whatnot, and a very good wine cellar, which is inevitably referred to in the book in italics as the cave.
Well, this is tough.
Yeah, man, it's a rich tapestry.
Yeah, no. I'm definitely going with Jess because her fucking Wile E. Coyote. I mean, it's not explicitly mentioned, but this is a murder. I mean, that's absolutely a murder. She locked a guy in a walk-in closet. I think it's even stipulated that it was over the weekend when no one was coming in.
He'll be fine. You know what's always in the lock-in, or always in the walk-in? Food and drink.
Yeah, you know it's not? Oxygen.
It's those things aren't fucking airtight. Give me a break.
So, yeah, I mean, it's the fact that she... And also all of the foreshadowing up to this point, I was like, oh, man, there's going to be like some awful sexual violence thing that's really going to make me cringe, and I'm not looking forward to it. And then it turns out she just totally went yoink and put her boss in a lock-in closet and stole the money from the register.
Also, her boss, I mean, you know, there's no sexual violence, but
he's a dick.
A sex pest,
yeah,
for sure.
He's definitely not a great guy.
And it's the kind of bar where the wines on offer are red or white, which, I mean, like, I've worked at that bar. I worked at that bar for like 6 years. It was great.
It also would be a good time to take a step back in that this kind of goes to what I was saying in my low point where the author thinks things are seedier than they are.
Yeah.
The bar that's described is basically like generic dive bar.
Every corner bar in America.
And she's like, you know, the people who came in here were low class, and sometimes there were even bachelorette parties. It's like, look, I watch a lot of BBC mysteries. As far as I know, there's bachelorette parties in every goddamn bar because someone's always talking about a hen do, and I had to figure out what that meant.
I mean, yeah, you need to pick your bar well for a hen do. Yeah, also, maybe Jess's best dark secret is, for some reason that I can't remember, she's preternaturally good at unbending her giant hoop earrings to pick locks.
She's a real Jill Valentine, that one. The master of unlocking. Yeah. It's Jess for sure. How about you?
No, extremely same. Like, there's some like hints that, if this book did super well, we might revisit Jess in a future book toward the end, and I'd be into that. I don't want to spend any more time with any of the rest of these assholes, but like, I'd be okay with the Prague Hostel, or
Now let's move on to a planned segment. This is called If This Were a Song.
Sounds of words, but not a melody and no rhythm at all. It's playing out with me, so we read all along. And it's probably wrong. It got us think about what if this were a song. What would it sound like?
All right, so if this were a song, we're going to, take a look at this book. It probably has some qualities in common with some elements of popular music, which, I'm a little obsessed with. You're a fan of. But this time I'm not really coming into it with a solid idea as much as a concept that I think we need to talk out, because immediately I knew the vibe that this gave me, but I was having a really tough time coming up with concrete examples of it. And I think, number one, the thing about this book is that, like, it's trying really hard to be, like, dark and ominous and scary.
Yeah.
But, like, kind of comes off as self-parodical at times and just unintentionally funny. And I don't know. Like, I was trying to think really hard, and honestly speaking, this is definitely going to get us letters, but whatever. The first thing that kept coming to my mind is Enter Sandman by Metallica.
Okay.
Because, that's a song that really wants you to believe it's scary as fuck. But as a friend of mine said, it's really just a song about how hard it whips to go to bed.
Have you ever gone to bed?
It's pretty great. It whips.
It whips ass.
Yeah. But yeah, I was also thinking maybe Mother by Danzig is another song that really wants to be like ominous and scary, but is kind of comical.
Right.
But I feel like there's a better example lurking out there somewhere that I just can't put my finger on.
Yeah, that's a really, so that vibe too is not what I was picking up on. I was going to kind of go with like slightly too ornate, not that dark, like still kind of pretty but dark. So I was thinking your Neutral Milk Hotel, Two-Headed Boys.
Oh yeah.
Your Ockerville River Black Sheep Boys. Probably other songs with boy in the title.
Yeah.
three word titles with boy. But yeah, no, I do kind of like the not quite as like the mall goth dark.
Exactly. So maybe we just say, well, no, I love Bauhaus, but they're silly.
Yeah, there's a coffee shop in Oakland that I go to sometimes, and when I go there, it tends to be this like young lady working who is super like 2005 kind of Hot Topic dressed, playing music at like ear-splitting levels. Like I had the most like awkward ordering a couple of weeks ago where I was just like, I don't want to be the old guy who says like, I'm wearing a mask. It's hard to order when neither of us can hear each other because you're fucking playing music at 11:30 on a Friday night in a bar level. And it's always the worst garbage from that era. Shit that like I'll scrabble it just because I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck this is, but I know it sucks.
Yeah.
So it's like a bunch of screamo bullshit. So yeah, maybe that.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. Or I was just
like
thinking
guys dressed like Karen O, but like without the talent or the band behind them.
Yeah, like what are they called? Like Hollywood Undead or whatever the fuck.
Or like, they were more straight ahead, like kind of rock and roll sleaze. Like this is more like your third string Fall Out Boy ripoffs.
Your Alexis on Fires, your Norma Jeans.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
I gotcha.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I think that's probably pretty accurate as far as this sort of vibe goes. I also think, maybe there's a little bit of horrorcore there.
Ooh.
Maybe a little bit of Gravediggers. Maybe a little, I'm going to say it, maybe a little bit of early Insane Clown Posse. Just not as much fun.
Yeah.
So.
Lucy Foley, if you're listening, give us a call. We will record nothing but the three of us listening to the first Gravediggers record and reacting to it in real time.
Yeah.
It'll be like one of those god-awful YouTube, blank hears blank for the first time videos, except really fun.
Well, can I make like a really surprised face overwrought for the thumbnail that looks like I'm going, because that's apparently what YouTube is all about now.
Scoob, I insist that you do.
Cool. So I think we're done with segments.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
I mean, really? No.
So I think it's time to move out of this apartment. So I think it's time to move out of this apartment and say, to hell with the deposit. Am I right, brother?
Whoa. God damn. I needed to get that back for the next place I'm moving.
Well, stay tuned next time around for, the niece apartment.
Ooh, well, that does sound nice. Wink.
All right, we'll be back. Okay, welcome back.
Everybody calm down,
Yeah.
apparently.
Look, people. I'm really going to need you to focus up front. Give us your attention. Yep.
Eyes up here.
Yeah.
Eyes up here, people.
Because we're done talking about the Paris apartment. Instead, we're now going to talk about things we enjoyed. So brace yourself. It's going to get happy in here.
What?
Not only venom and spite, sometimes with sweetness and light, and we always end the episode by telling you about a thing we like. Recommendations.
I wish we could play that Pharrell song, but,
Can't afford it.
no, yeah. It's unfortunate, but true.
If only, Jay, one of us knew somebody with like an unparalleled, almost uncanny knack for pastiche. Somebody who seemingly effortlessly can conjure music into being.
Oh, man.
All right, well, I'll make the coffee.
That's a heavy lift. I now feel obligated to do I keep wanting to say a Pharrell parody. Well, maybe or maybe not. Either way, this is the part of the show where we talk about things we like. We have recommendations for you. Would you like to go first?
I would be happy to go first. This will be a multi-threaded single recommendation. As sort of like a little bit of practice, like a little knocking the rust off, if you will, picking the lock into the Paris apartment that is my ability to do a podcast. I guested on our friend's show, The Worst Bestsellers, on a book called The Door into Fire. And I had just an absolutely great time with them. I had a great time rereading the book, which I was very trepidatious about because it was kind of a major part of like my weird reading books about sexy unicorns childhood. But it holds up in a really good way. The author, Diane Duane, actually added us on Twitter and was very kind and generous about it. She really understood, like, I think the spirit of the way we were talking about the book, and was just in general the kind of delightful person you hope is writing books that you like.
Yeah, that's great.
So yeah, sort of three tendrilled recommendation. It's wrapped up like speaker wire, baby. One, Diane Duane in general. 2, Door into Fire in particular. 3, The Worst Bestsellers episode with yours truly on it.
Well, hey, buddy, I've got a bone to pick with that, wink. I was also on The Worst Bestsellers to talk about a book I loved as a kid, and I'm going to recommend that episode and that book as well. So there.
Boom!
I was invited on to talk about The Westing Game, which
Yeah.
was one of my favorite books as a kid, and was delighted to discover that it is now one of my favorite books as an adult. I think it's pretty rare that a book that's as clearly written for young audiences as that one is, like, really manages to resonate with a group of people who had not read it before, or at least had not read it in a long time. And we've been getting actually a bunch of feedback from people who are like, I read that because of that episode and I fucking loved it. And they're all grown-ups. Really smart mystery and just incredibly witty and funny in a way that, like, I was really surprised at how many, like, sincere laughs I got out of it.
Nice.
Also, too, I've been driving a lot lately, so I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks, and I was originally going to just list off everything I've thought was good recently, but then you came with the worst bestsellers thing, and I had to abridge my list, so I'm just going to mention 2 books that I've enjoyed. One of them I alluded to earlier, which is Paul Tremblay's latest book, which is called The Pallbearers Club. If you've read anything of his before, then you're probably expecting something very dark and creepy, and this has some of that, but at its core, it's kind of a heartwarming coming-of-age story about 2 misfit teens who, bond over a shared love of Husker Du, which is pretty fucking rad. And all of the chapter titles are like New Day Rising or songs about UFOs. And I was like, yeah, this book is written for me. So I really liked that. And then I'm also going to recommend a book that I read more recently by Jane Peck called The Verifiers. That's just a really, really cool mystery about a woman who works for a company that's job is investigating people on a dating app to make sure that they are who they say they are for rich clients. And it kind of goes off the rails in a really fun and interesting way. It's also, it's written by, I believe she's a first generation Chinese American. And there's a lot of really good stuff in it, kind of about the realities of living with an immigrant family as well, that I found just really incisive and cool. But mostly it's also a fun story. So yeah, The Verifiers by Jane Peck. And Paul Tremblay, The Pallbearers Club. Nice. Yeah, cool. So sometimes we get letters, and sometimes we read them, and I think it's one of those times. Here's a song.
A, letters B, letters C, letters D, letters E, letters F, letters C, letters, got a lot of letters.
All right. This letter came into our email box at I don't even own a television at gmail.com. And it has a little title that goes like this: Got a real stinker of a book for your reading pleasure, quote unquote. And it is from Marshall, fake last name.
I'm just going to interrupt for 1 second. I think the phrase or the word stinker is not nearly used enough these days. Thank you for bringing it back, Marshall.
Especially, usually when you see it, it's after Lil.
Lil stinker, yeah.
And this is quite different. So yeah, it's a fresh new approach to reading. On the Lit RPG subreddit, I definitely know what those words mean. One person mentioned how difficult he was finding one book to get into, titled Ennui: Phoenix Rising Online. I was curious, so I looked up the book, and oh boy, it's awful. Like, red pill incels, women are leeches on society. Awful. Thanks for finding that spoiled yogurt and asking us to smell it. But now I'm going to pass it along to you, the listening audience. Here's the blurb. Some bullshit in what I'm going to guess is fake or bad Latin. Come for the triggered NPCs. Stay for the interesting in-game world characters. Side note, this is not the letter. This is me, Chris Collision, your friend. If you have ever described somebody as an NPC, you need to go lie down. And then you need to go outside and touch some grass.
Yeah, looks like you're the one who's triggered now, Mr. Alpha.
Yeah. Whew. Jeffrey Anderson has had enough. While life on Earth offers copious amounts of bread and circuses, it does not provide anything more than that. On top of the general feeling of malaise and lack of any real purpose, the entire world is on a snowball's trajectory of self-destruction. That's not how snowballs work. All this changed with the announcement of Phoenix Rising Online.
Oh, Jesus.
While another game would hardly help matters, a conversation with a suspiciously well-informed individual makes him believe the world is far more than just a game. Finally given a worthy goal, he sacrifices everything but himself for it. It's not how sacrificing works. And makes the swap over, choosing to live within this new world instead of Earth permanently. I've seen this movie.
Yeah.
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
This doesn't sound good. But the world of PRO, while lacking the dishonest problems of Earth, has plenty of honest problems instead, and is far from a safer, friendly place despite being generally healthy. Can he answer both the offers and demands it makes of him? Now that he has something worth fighting for and protecting, will he, and how will he? What can change the nature of a man? Phoenix Rising Online is rated 18 plus because it is written for mature audiences. Immature audiences will be triggered by kitsune waifus touching fluffy tails and thought patrolling, as well as facts, not caring about your feelings.
Fucking A. I wish that you could see my face right now. I don't know if my eyebrow has ever gone up higher on my forehead.
I could actually see like your will to listen to me read that, like just escaping your body with like every syllable. And trust me, I felt that will leaving my body too.
So, yeah, I'm a slowly deflating balloon right now. In case you couldn't tell, we are never going to touch this book with a 10-foot pole. But, thanks for taking the bullet for us, I guess.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Part of me wants to blame all of this on Ernest Cline because of Ready Player One. But then I remembered that this is an entire genre of Japanese fiction. Isekai, I think it's called. Isekai, I don't know how to say it. But there's, a lot of manga and anime and novels out there about this concept of people going into online games like with their whole life, and then they write about these online games like this is actually interesting to read. I feel like really what's at the root of this, the big thing that's the culprit, I feel like, is this weird cultural moment we've been having where people like to think that watching other people play video games is entertaining. So obviously reading a story or watching a movie about somebody playing an imaginary video game is going to be great too. And, whatever, why not add some fucking alt-right bullshit into it too? I mean, might as well.
While you're up.
Also, one thing, I'm just going to go off on a little rant here.
Let's hear it.
Sorry for everybody at home because... Actually, the people listening to this show are cool, so they'll know where I'm coming from. But, okay, this dude says that he's going to, trigger some people by talking about kitsune waifus. So, yeah, fox girl wives, touching tails, things like that. It's like, my dude, you are the nerd. Yeah. And, I mean, I say this, I know a lot of people who listen to this, they like that kind of media, and I totally respect that. And you know why? Because most people who like that kind of media are super cool about the fact that, hey, this is nerdy shit. But how can you be into that and then get this weird picture in your head where you're a fucking, goddamn soldier of fortune here to just, piss off the normies by rubbing their face in some anime shit? Come on, dude.
Yeah. I mean... I like Naruto more than I like most people. Yeah. I don't think that makes me all that cool.
Yeah, I mean, I love cats. I have 3 cats. I love cats. I look at pictures of cats all day long. You're never going to catch me writing a serious fucking screed about triggering the libs with some cat pictures. And I feel like that's kind of the level that we've entered here. That's silly, man.
Yeah. Also, my guy, we all saw The Matrix.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not exactly rocking our world.
But what if The Matrix was about an online video game based on... Oh, that actually is the newest Matrix movie, so never mind.
Also, anyway, I think we've said all that needs to be said about that. But hoo boy, it really makes me think maybe we should change the subtitle, a podcast about bad books,
but not that bad. Yeah, exactly. A podcast about bad books, not masochism.
Yeah. I don't even own a television. It could be worse.
Yeah. Look, okay, This show's been around for a while. When I started this show, I was a different person. I really liked to get mad about stuff. Now I'm a middle-aged guy. You know, I really like to be chill. It's better for my mental health to just mellow out. You know, every now and then I like to jokingly read something that's, you know, minorly distasteful so we can have a few rough chuckles about it. But, like, at the end of the day, no, I'm not going to read a book about what appears to be Nazis in a video game. No thanks.
Yeah, especially, you know, I'll phrase it slightly differently. We've just got a pretty big backlog of cozies to get through before we get there.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, definitely we've got cozies. We've got other things that are bad in, you know, soft, endearing ways.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to stick to that rather than things that are... quite honestly seem specifically designed to piss people like me off.
Yeah. Also, yeah, maybe we should like actually just sort of like bleep out all the titles and identifying information. Because like the biggest reason I don't want to do that is obviously I care about myself and don't want to wallow in that sewer. Second biggest reason, I care about Jay, don't want him to wallow in that sewer. Third biggest reason, I don't want to make that cat even one thin nickel.
Yeah, and
in this world, or bring any attention to that project.
You would think being featured on a podcast with the subtitle, a podcast about bad books, would turn people away from the document. But I can say from experience in that one of the books we previously did was very bad along these same lines. And we get like 2 emails a month from people offering us exorbitant prices to buy this book that is now out of print. I'm not going to mention the name again because, like you said, doesn't need free publicity. But if you think we've never gotten emails with people offering us $800 to buy a shitty book we talked about, we do, and no, we didn't. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm also not going to name that particular book, but there was definitely a time in my life before I'd read that.
Yeah.
And a time after.
So if you want to go through the backlog and try to figure out which one it is, great. Don't email us about it. Thanks.
That book is, of course, the very difficult to find Dan Brown mystery.
Yeah.
The Dewinkie Code.
No, it's Dachshund Through the Snow, both of them.
Yeah, exactly. Both of them.
Okay, so I think we've reached the end of our... what was I going to say? I had the perfect French word.
Sojourn?
Sojourn, that's a good one. I had something else, but whatever, fuck it. I don't speak French, folks.
Well, flaneur is somebody who walks the streets of Paris. Maybe we've just ended our time as flaneurs.
Yeah, my joie de vivre is rapidly decreasing. So,
same.
Yeah, I think it's time to say goodbye. Thank you for listening. We'll be back in another undisclosed amount of time. I have already picked a book out. Thank you for sticking with us and continuing to listen to the show. You know, as previously mentioned, we aren't on the tight schedule that we used to be on because, you know, I've been enjoying having a life that isn't defined by deadlines outside of work. And, you know, it's important for us to take care of ourselves, and sometimes that means not delivering shows at a rapid fire clip, but we just want to let you know that we love you for listening. We're glad you stuck around, and you know, we will continue to put out episodes occasionally.
Yeah, when we get to it.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, absolutely. +1 to everything Jay just said, except there's one of you out there. I don't love you for listening. You know who you are. You know what you did. Sorry, just kidding. Yeah, thank you so much for listening. If you do want to get in touch, we are at I don't even own a television at gmail.com. You can try to tweet at us, but I was pleasantly surprised to find out that I still have the login on my phone, but I won't see it.
I did check recently, and you know, in addition to the author that you mentioned tweeting at you, which was very charming and nice, there's just, you know, people continue to send us really good crab related content.
That's true.
And I appreciate that every time I see it. So while I only log onto Twitter like maybe once every 4 or 5 months solely to just see what's new on the IDEO TV pod account, that's the Twitter, is IDEO TV pod. I'm always cheered by, say, pictures of Leonardo da Vinci's illustrations of crabs.
Right.
Yeah. So, you know, you can continue to send us that. We may not respond in a timely fashion, but please know we do enjoy it.
And if you see us in the streets, just know that we're probably going to the library.
Yep. Oh, I like that. Yeah, so hang on one second while I look up something on my phone. Why don't you say something entertaining in the meanwhile? Oh, man. Okay, hang on.
I don't know. I guess I could say, until next time, keep reading crabs.
Or, until next time, Moontail le crab.